You know, it's wild to think about, but 77% of Americans suffer from glossophobia, which is the clinical fear of public speaking.
Right, yeah. It's a massive number.
It is, but the really dangerous place for your career isn't like standing under a spotlight on a TED Talk stage. It's actually just your standard boardroom table on a Tuesday morning.
Oh, absolutely. That mundane, everyday setting is where 32% of people admit they're simply too afraid to put their ideas forward.
Wow, nearly a third of people.
Yeah, and the cost of that silence is very real for them.
Yeah.
1 in 5 people have actually missed out on a promotion solely due to a lack of self-belief in those really specific high-stakes moments.
1 in 5.
Exactly. I mean, all the talent and hard work in the world offers absolutely zero protection if your delivery mechanism is fundamentally broken.
Right, which raises a pretty profound question for our deep dive today. Why do highly competent people suddenly lose, all their authority when they step into a standard meeting? And more importantly, how do they get it back?
The million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. And we have a incredibly diverse stack of sources to answer that today. We're pulling insights from clinical voice exercises. These are designed by speech-language pathologists, plus the Cornell Health Framework for Assertive Communication.
Right, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and we've also got a really comprehensive executive presence toolkit and some brilliant strategies specifically designed for introverts who are, just trying to navigate extrovert-dominated spaces.
It's a great mix of materials.
It is, because our mission today is to give you, the listener, a complete head-to-toe blueprint for building confidence and authority at work. We want to chart a path from conquering your own internal nerves to mastering the unspoken rules of meetings, and finally upgrading your vocabulary to sound like a seasoned executive.
A full toolkit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the biological sabotage that's happening before you even step foot in the office.
Yeah, we have to start with the nervous system here. Because when you feel that familiar spike of panic just before a big presentation or, say, a contentious meeting, that is your lizard brain taking over.
The lizard brain.
Right. It's this primitive fear instinct housed deep in the amygdala. And evolutionarily speaking, it's actually a magnificent survival mechanism. It was designed to protect us from predators.
Like saber-toothed tigers.
Exactly. It floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol so you can physically fight or just run away from that tiger.
The problem is today, there is no tiger.
No, there's just a quarterly marketing review.
Right, exactly. Like your cognitive brain knows it's just a spreadsheet. But your lizard brain processes the eyes of your colleagues staring at you as a literal physical threat.
It really does. And the typical advice people get, which is to try and suppress or fight that fear, usually backfires entirely. It just makes the internal alarm ring even louder.
So what do we do instead? Because the strategy outlined by executive coach Mae Bush is to actually lean into the absurdity of the biology.
Yes. You mentally acknowledge the fear. You literally thank your brain for trying to keep you safe from the imaginary tiger.
Thanks, brain.
Right. And then you dismiss it. You just tell yourself, I've got it from here. You have to deliberately evict that primitive response from the driver's seat.
Because if you don't, the physical symptoms will completely destroy your communication.
Oh, absolutely. Consider the classic communication breakdown rule. The actual words you use only account for 7% of how your message is received.
Just 7%. That's wild.
It is. A massive 55% is your body language, and 38% is your tone of voice. So when that lizard brain is active, you tense up. And that physical tension constricts your airflow.
Which wrecks the 38%.
Exactly. It completely wrecks the 38% of your communication that relies on a steady, resonant tone.
Well, the sources from speech-language pathologist Catherine Fields actually offer a routine to prevent that tone destruction. And the best way to describe it is dynamic stretching for your vocal cords.
Oh, it's a perfect analogy.
Right. Like a professional athlete wouldn't sprint onto the field without doing dynamic stretches, yet we routinely walk into these high-stakes negotiations with cold, constricted vocal cords.
We do it every day.
Yeah. So the prep she recommends starts with diaphragmatic breathing. Basically, bypassing that shallow chest breathing that anxiety causes and breathing deeply from the belly to build a solid column of breath support.
Crucial first step.
And from there, you move to gentle humming scales, gliding your pitch up and down. And finally, she recommends lip trills.
Oh, the lip trills.
Yeah, this involves blowing air through loose lips to create a vibrating, like motorboat sound while gliding from your lowest comfortable pitch to your highest. But looking at this critically, I just have to ask, Is making kazoo sounds and motorboat lip trills in my car during the morning commute really going to translate to boardroom authority?
What's fascinating here is the sheer physics and biology of the vocal folds.
Hmm?
I mean, your vocal cords are incredibly delicate mucous membranes and muscles.
Okay.
So under stress, the surrounding muscles in your neck and larynx involuntarily clench. This tension pulls the vocal cords tight. That is exactly why an anxious voice sounds thin or shaky or squeaky.
Oh, so it's a mechanical issue.
Exactly. It's totally mechanical.
Oh.
Lip trills and hunting aren't just silly noises. They create back pressure. They physically rebalance the air pressure above and below your vocal folds.
Wow.
Yeah, it acts as an internal massage that literally vibrates away that laryngeal tension. And releasing that tension allows your larynx to drop back down to a relaxed state, which restores your voice to its natural, resonant, lower pitch.
So it actually changes how you sound.
It does. And subconsciously, when a room hears a resonant, relaxed voice, it signals comfort and grounded control to everyone listening.
It's essentially a biological hack to project psychological safety.
Pretty much, yeah.
And the sources point out that this isn't just a morning routine. If you are grinding through back-to-back calls, vocal fatigue sets in and you lose that resonance all over again.
Oh, definitely. By 2 p.m., you're exhausted.
Right, so you can utilize midday resets like straw phonation, which is literally just humming your way through a song using a standard drinking straw to reestablish that back pressure we talked about.
That's a really good one.
Or another option is the yawn sigh release, where you simulate a deep yawn to lift the soft palate and then audibly sigh the air out to open a constricted throat.
Keeping the voice untethered from stress is vital. But, the physical priming goes beyond just the larynx.
What else is there?
Well, research highlighted in the Discovery source, originally from Harvard and Columbia, points to the physiological impact of the power pose.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah, taking 2 minutes before a meeting to stand with your feet wide, hands on your hips, chin elevated, it visibly alters your body chemistry.
Really? Just standing like that?
Just standing. It physically lowers cortisol, mitigating the stress response while elevating testosterone, which correlates with risk tolerance and dominance.
That is fascinating.
Right. Alternatively, engaging in a 20-minute midday workout acts as a buffer too. It builds mental resilience against those inevitable afternoon stress spikes.
But having a resonant voice and primed body chemistry doesn't really matter if you can't find a gap in the conversation to actually use them.
That is the hard part, isn't it?
It really is. And this is where the dynamic gets incredibly frustrating. Because the architecture of a standard corporate meeting is structurally rigged against a large portion of the workforce. As leadership coach Stacy Shazin points out, the modern meeting heavily favors an extroverted communication style.
It absolutely does. The corporate ecosystem rewards speed. It rewards professionals who prefer to think out loud, who are comfortable filling dead air, and who literally form their ideas while they are already speaking.
Which is wild to me.
Right. But introverted professionals require a completely different cognitive process. They require a beat to absorb the data, run it through internal filters, and synthesize a cohesive thought before they even open their mouths.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. That required processing time creates a painful paradox.
Oh, the paradox is brutal.
Right, because the deep thinker stays quiet. They are diligently crafting the absolute smartest, most bulletproof contribution. But by waiting for that perfect, unassailable idea, the fast-paced conversation just moves on.
It leaves them behind.
Exactly. They end up staying silent for the entire hour. And consequently, the room perceives them as less competent than the person who just rapidly fired off a half-baked thought 5 minutes in.
Yeah, and the standard advice to just speak up more is useless here.
Completely useless.
Because it ignores that processing reality. The actual strategy to hack this dynamic is to completely abandon the concept of the perfect moment.
It doesn't exist.
The perfect opening will never arrive. The goal is to speak early, ideally within the first 10 to 15 minutes of the meeting.
So just get in there fast.
Yes. And it doesn't need to be a profound insight. Welcoming a newcomer to the call, verbally agreeing with a colleague's early point, or just asking a simple clarifying question, it serves a massive psychological purpose. It breaks the silent seal.
The silent seal. I love that because once you hear your own voice occupy space in the room, that internal psychological barrier shatters.
That's like breaking the ice in your own brain.
Exactly. It becomes exponentially easier to jump back in when you actually do have that synthesized, brilliant point to make later.
Right.
And to facilitate that early entry, one of the best preparation hacks is to stop scripting the complex idea and instead just script your exact first sentence.
That is such a good tip.
This isn't it. Just write down a physical on-ramp on your notepad. Like, I'd like to add a layer to that thought, or can we pause to explore that metric? You don't have to think on your feet to enter the traffic. You just read the script to get on the highway.
I love the highway analogy. And once you are navigating that traffic, understanding the invisible phases of a meeting changes your whole tactical approach.
The phases, yeah.
Mae Bush categorizes the beginning of a meeting as fresh snow.
Fresh snow.
Yeah, no one has made a definitive claim yet, no egos are attached to any ideas, and it is by far the easiest time to jump in without contradicting a senior leader.
That makes total sense.
Then, the middle of the meeting is highly chaotic. This is
Okay.
the brainstorming phase where you build on concepts or ask innovation questions like, what if we modeled this differently?
The messy middle.
Right. And then the end of the meeting is reserved for alignment and synthesis.
And whenever you choose to deploy your voice in those phases, the power of one, or the rule of three, must dictate your structure,
The central role.
because the human brain quickly hits cognitive overload. If you ramble past three ideas, your audience literally stops absorbing the information. Grouping your thoughts into a maximum of 3 crisp points ensures the message survives the delivery.
They have to keep it tight.
But this still leaves a mechanical problem. Like, if I am someone who naturally needs time to process, how do I actually jump into a fast-moving, extrovert-dominated meeting without resorting to just awkwardly cutting someone off?
This raises an important question about what corporate culture actually values versus what it thinks it values.
Oh, say more about that.
Well, there is an ingrained assumption that being the loudest person in the room equates to being the leader. However, core introverted traits, noticing underlying patterns, deep active listening, and the ability to synthesize wildly complex information, those are actually pinnacle executive skills.
They are leadership skills.
Exactly. The strategy is not to force a personality transplant and become a loud extrovert.
Yeah.
The strategy is to deploy synthesis as a tactical weapon.
Synthesis as a weapon.
Yes. If your strength is processing, stay out of the chaotic, ego-driven middle of the meeting.
Whoa.
Let the extroverts fight for airtime there.
Let's just sit back and let them battle it out.
Let them battle it out. Then wait until the end of the meeting, step in, synthesize the preceding 40 minutes of noise into 3 clear action items, and effectively close the session.
Wow.
The room will immediately perceive you as the most authoritative figure present because you provided the one thing everyone was desperately looking for, which is order.
You function as the anchor that stops the ship from drifting.
Beautifully put.
So you've broken the ice, you found your strategic window, and you have the floor. Now we look at the vocabulary itself, because the specific words chosen in that moment dictate whether the room categorizes you as a dependable doer or a visionary leader.
The words matter so much.
They really do. It requires this mental software update where you uninstall your employee-level vocabulary and replace it with executive-level framing.
And mastering that executive framing really starts with the concept of assertiveness, which is frequently misunderstood.
Very misunderstood.
The Cornell Health Assertiveness Grid provides a great visual map to clear up the confusion. Picture a graph with 2 axes. One axis represents your own needs, your ability to be honest and direct. The other axis represents the needs of others, your ability to be respectful and appropriate.
Okay, so if you prioritize only the other person's needs and suppress your own, you fall into the passive quadrant.
Exactly.
But if you prioritize only your own needs, completely bulldozing the other person, you land in the aggressive quadrant.
Right. And ignoring both your needs and their needs dumps you into passive-aggressive territory.
The worst quadrant.
Oh, by far. Assertiveness is that elusive sweet spot where both axes peak. You are 100% honest and direct about your requirements, while remaining 100% respectful and appropriate regarding theirs.
Which sounds great in theory, but maintaining that equilibrium during a workplace conflict is incredibly difficult, which is why the Cornell framework champions the XYZ formula.
The XYZ formula.
Yeah. The structure is rigid, but it's effective. It goes, I feel X when you do Y in situation Z, and I would like what you want.
Right.
The source uses a relatable domestic example to illustrate the mechanics. So it's like, I feel disrespected, that's X when you're on your phone, which is Y at night when I'm trying to sleep, situation Z. And I would like you to text instead of talking after 10 p.m.
It lays it all out clearly.
It does, but I have to push back on the application of this, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when I read that formula, my immediate reaction was that it sounds incredibly robotic.
Okay, fair.
Right. If I try deploying I feel X when you do Y in situation Z during a heated project postmortem, aren't my colleagues going to feel like I'm reading from some 1990s HR conflict resolution manual?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of human psychology, that rigid structure actually serves a highly specific defensive purpose.
Okay, how so?
Well, in a heated project review, the default human instinct is to launch an accusation. Like, you always deliver your assets late, or you never check the shared drive.
Right, the blame game.
Exactly. Those you statements immediately trigger the other person's lizard brain. They feel attacked, cortisol floods their system, and they instantly go on the defensive.
They get ready to fight back.
Right. But the XYZ formula forces the speaker to use I statements, saying, I feel anxious when the assets aren't in the shared drive on Thursday afternoons. Keeps the focus entirely on your internal state and a specific present behavior.
Oh, I see.
It completely removes the attack vector. Because the listener doesn't feel cornered or accused of a character flaw, the tension instantly de-escalates. And that allows a rational discussion about workflows to actually take place.
It just bypasses their amygdala entirely.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, beyond navigating conflict, the Executive Presence Toolkit details everyday language shifts that separate middle management from the C-suite.
These are so important.
Right. The most critical shift is moving from operational language to strategic language.
Big difference.
Huge. An operational speaker reports on tasks, saying things like, I finally completed the new vendor onboarding project.
Right, very task-focused.
But a strategic speaker ties that exact same task directly to business impact, framing it as, our vendor initiative just delivered a 15% cost reduction for the quarter.
It completely reframes your utility to the company. I mean, instead of saying, I'm working on updating the software, you pivot to, I'm driving strategic change in our IT infrastructure.
Much more powerful.
And you also have to interrogate your use of the word sorry.
Oh, the apology reflex.
Yes. Diminishing your value with phrases like, sorry to bother you with this, is a habit that just needs to be replaced with, I have an insight to share.
And the research emphasizes that eliminating apology language is especially critical for women, who are often culturally conditioned to soften their statements.
Absolutely.
Like starting a sentence with, I may be completely off base here, but...
Ugh, that one hurts to hear.
It is an act of self-sabotage. You are destroying the credibility of your own point before the listener even processes the idea.
You're doing the work of the critic for them.
Exactly. And the same applies to verbal hedges. Couching a recommendation in words like, I think, maybe, or perhaps, it just strips the persuasiveness right out of the argument.
It really does. Though there is also a fascinating nuance regarding discourse markers.
Discourse markers.
Yeah, the filler phrases like, well, or, I mean, we've all been told a million times to strip these out entirely, right?
Right, the classic public speaking advice.
Well, sociolinguist Dr. Valerie Fridlin points out a pretty counterintuitive reality. Using these markers occasionally actually serves a social function.
Really?
Yeah. Asking, we struggled with that vendor back then, It actually softens the edge of corporate speak. It builds relatable rapport with the team.
Oh, interesting. But the danger lies in the dosage, right?
Exactly. The dosage is everything.
Because overusing discourse markers is catastrophic for your executive presence. If you constantly rely on or I mean between every single thought, you are putting a massive, unfair, collaborative burden on the listener.
You're making them do the work.
Right. You are essentially forcing them to mentally fill in the blanks of your incomplete ideas. It becomes exhausting for them, and it completely destroys your credibility as a precise, clear thinker.
Absolutely. Precise words, devoid of unnecessary apologies and excessive filler, are the hallmark of authority. But, and this is key, true executive presence doesn't just cease to exist the moment you stop speaking.
It's 204/7.
Pretty much. Authority lives in the physical space you occupy while others are talking. And critically, in the strategic actions you take after the meeting dissolves.
Which brings us back to the mechanics of that 55% body language statistic. The Australian Institute of Business Source outlines the physical parameters of authoritative nonverbals.
Starting with the eyes.
Always the eyes. Eye contact is the most powerful tool for connection, but it operates on a strict timeline, 3 to 5 seconds.
No more, no less.
Right. Maintaining eye contact for 3 to 5 seconds projects ultimate confidence. But after that window, you must look away to process your thoughts or shift focus.
Because if you don't...
If you don't, exceeding 5 seconds morphs a confident gaze into a stare down. It triggers profound discomfort in the recipient.
It gets weird fast.
Very fast. And then there's smiling, which seems basic, but it triggers a release of serotonin and dopamine in your own brain. It calms your nervous system while simultaneously signaling to the room that you are both approachable and secure.
And of course, mastering the firm, brief, medium grip handshake.
A classic for a reason.
Definitely.
Wow.
And then there's the management of nervous energy. Fidgeting bleeds your authority dry because it broadcasts internal chaos.
Everyone can see it.
Yeah. If you are prone to touching your face, bouncing a knee, or, dismantling a clicky pen, the toolkit recommends the steeple technique.
Oh, Mr. Burns style from The Simpsons.
Sort of, yeah. You rest your elbows on the table or the arms of your chair, and you press the fingertips of both hands together, forming a steeple.
Okay.
It serves a dual purpose. First, it physically restrains your hands from erratic movement, and visually, it projects a posture of immense calm, contemplation, and control.
The steeple is the ultimate physical anchor.
It really is.
But projecting authority goes beyond just sitting there looking stoic. The Leaders at T toolkit emphasizes a visibility action plan. Basically, what happens after the meeting concludes is arguably more important than the meeting itself.
The follow-up.
Yes, follow-up is where reputations are cemented.
Well, especially if you were the introvert who spent the meeting absorbing the data and synthesizing the chaos. You have to utilize the follow-up.
How do they do that?
About an hour after the meeting, you send a strategic insight email to the key players. You lay out the synthesis. Like, based on our discussion, I identified a bottleneck in the workflow and an opportunity to restructure the timeline.
That's brilliant.
And then you volunteer for highly visible tasks associated with that solution.
Yeah.
You have to ensure you are the one implementing the strategy, not just observing it from the sidelines.
The toolkit also pushes this visibility further by advising professionals to seek out sponsors, not just mentors.
That distinction is so key.
It is. A mentor gives you advice, but a sponsor uses their political capital to advocate for your promotion behind closed doors.
You need a sponsor.
Exactly. And you find a sponsor by identifying senior leaders, researching their specific strategic priorities, and then reaching out to offer a concrete solution or value that helps them achieve their goals.
Yes.
So what does this all mean? When we look at this entire behavioral shift, the power posing, the steepling, deliberately scripting your entry into meetings, stripping out apologies, and aggressively seeking sponsors, how do you, the listener, balance projecting all this bold, unapologetic power without crossing the line into the aggressive quadrant of the Cornell matrix?
That's a great point to bring up. The distinction lies entirely in the underlying motivation.
The motivation.
Right. Aggression is inherently selfish. It prioritizes only your needs, it seeks to dominate airtime just for the sake of ego, and it actively diminishes others to make you look bigger.
We all know that person.
We do. But true authority, the kind rooted in balanced assertiveness, deep synthesis, and strategic volunteering, is expansive.
Yeah.
It elevates the entire team.
Right.
When you step in to summarize a chaotic meeting, or when you take the time to email a strategic insight that solves a departmental bottleneck, you aren't doing it to inflate your ego. You are focusing on business impact and shared goals. True authority commands the room precisely because it serves the room.
True authority serves the room. It's a complete paradigm shift from how we usually view corporate dominance.
Completely.
The blueprint we've explored today offers actionable mechanical adjustments, from utilizing lip trills and diaphragmatic breathing to pacify the lizard brain and unlock your natural resonance,
Yeah.
to tactically claiming your space in that first 10 minutes of fresh snow and structuring your insights with the rule of 3, upgrading your vocabulary from operational tasks to strategic impacts, using the XYZ formula to de-escalate conflict, and finally cementing your value with steepled fingers and strategic follow-up emails.
It's all connected.
It is. These are tools you can deploy tomorrow morning to ensure your ideas are never sidelined again.
It really just removes the mystery from executive presence. It proves that authority is not an innate genetic trait.
Yeah.
It is a series of deliberate, practiced behaviors.
Exactly. But before we wrap up this deep dive, there is a brand new concept, a fascinating lens through which to view the future of work that we want to leave you with.
Okay, let's hear it.
Right now, as we've established, fast-talking, extroverted traits, thinking out loud, firing off rapid responses, dominating the brainstorm, these are the default currency for corporate leadership.
Absolutely.
But what happens to that dynamic when artificial intelligence fully takes over rapid-fire data processing?
Oh, wow. When you look at the trajectory of AI capabilities, The premium on fast answers completely evaporates.
It does.
I mean, an AI can instantly generate a rapid response, summarize a massive data set, or spit out a conventional strategy faster than the most energetic extrovert in the room.
So as AI handles all the quick, out-loud answers, could it be that the classically introverted traits, deep synthesis, delayed and deliberate processing, empathetic listening, and the uniquely human ability to ask the profound, abstract what-if questions, could those traits soon become the ultimate, irreplaceable executive superpower of the future?
If the speed of calculation is entirely outsourced to machines, then depth, nuance, and human wisdom become the only premium skills left.
It completely rewrites the rules of engagement. So the next time you are standing outside that boardroom door, heart racing, staring down that invisible psychological minefield, remember, you have the mechanics to navigate it.
You have the tools.
Don't fight the lizard brain. Thank it, dismiss it, step inside, and claim your space. Because your deliberate insights are exactly what the room needs.